Welcome to Table for Two. Imagine sitting down for a coffee date with a friend who totally gets the balancing act of motherhood, running a business, and chasing your dreams. That's what this podcast is all about. I'm Victoria, a mom of three, marketing expert with over 10 years of experience, and a business owner. And I'm here for honest, real conversations about life, business, and everything in between. Whether you're just starting your first venture or building your empire, each episode is packed with relatable stories, actionable tips, and the support you need to juggle it all. So pull up a chair, grab your coffee or wine, I won't judge, and let's dive into the things that really matter. It's time for a little Table for Two. Welcome back to Table for Two. I am so excited that you are here as always. Today I want to share with you my content strategy for 2025. In my first episode kind of covered that a lot of the business that I got my first year was through word of mouth referrals. I was very lucky to have a network that I built the last almost 10 years in marketing and in the professional industry, people that I've met either through work or just personally, just been able to kind of build a network that I was able to have clients come to me just from announcing on Facebook a couple times of my transition of this new venture I was going down. And so I was able to get the people that I worked with either from that network and then beyond of like referrals from them. So 2025 for me is really going to be about putting myself out there on social media, one, starting this podcast, and then kind of stemming from there. What are the different avenues I want to go down? And I want to share that with you just to almost like hold myself accountable and sit down and talk to a friend out loud and just kind of see, because right now I know I'm on my computer, I'm putting all my thoughts down, putting a marketing plan together for myself, which is essentially kind of what I've done the last 10 years for either corporations or clients in like an agency setting, thinking that through for them. So doing it for myself is a little bit different, kind of having to like take a step back and develop that without, I don't want to say like personal emotion, but just trying to navigating it for yourself is so much different than having, a client in a company that you work for that you can like bounce ideas off of. So I'm using this space right here, our little chat, to kind of talk through that and maybe spark some ideas for you as well. Big part of this 2025 marketing plan is repurposing content. I truly enjoy long form content. I am someone who grew up in the era of YouTube videos, day in the life vlogs, and I would sit there easily for a half hour and watch someone have their day in the life and learn from their habits. One person I loved, and this is so separate from like the marketing world, but she's built a business for herself, is Whitney Simmons. I don't know if you're familiar with her, but she has her own brand. It's called Alive. She now has a fitness app. She's big into the fitness world. She started though by just posting on YouTube her what I eat in the day in the life, workout routines, and just kind of showing her personality. She did a lot of like favorites videos, all of those classic YouTube millennial girl obsessions. And she was one I followed and like did a lot and followed and loved, and things that she recommended I took to heart and I did, and I still follow her today. And she's just done so much for herself in the online space. And so I say all that to say that long form content has always been something that I've felt right about and aligned to. And I mentioned this a little bit in my, the reason why I started the podcast in that first episode. But in case you don't listen and you're listening here, I really think that aligning your values and what feels right in terms of building content for your business, it has to feel right, of course. And I think figuring out what that is and going from there. So for me, it makes sense for me in multiple reasons to create some long form content to then repurpose that long form content into shorter pieces. And being able to do that, it just feels right. And I think there's some strategy behind that. So long-winded, but I wanted to talk through, what I want to do for 2025. Again, hold myself accountable, but also try not to like burn myself out, right? Of course, we all have so much going on no matter what, if you're a mom or not. But if you are a mom, juggling, like I've said, I'm still working my 9 to 5. So trying to figure out what's going to feel good, both just naturally in terms of developing content, but also what's going to feel like it's not too much. And that's going to feel like the right amount. And I, of course, am someone that I shoot for the stars and I develop this content plan and it's a lot. So trying to like scale back almost and be like, what realistically can I do? And then once I am able to potentially leave my 9 to 5, what can I then add on to my plate and feel good about? So managing your plate is really important. Okay, so I have my computer here, so that's why I'm looking down, because I have it, my marketing plan in front of me. I just kind of want to be able to reference it. One thing that I've learned over the years in marketing is it's really important to pick like your core messaging, right? Your core platform you're going to use. And then from there, utilizing the other avenues that you want to use. So for example, a podcast. I want to have like I mentioned, a visual podcast. So I'm doing this, recording it. I use Riverside. It's a really cool platform that allows you to record a video, of course, then have the audio file just for the podcast piece if you want to do it like on Apple. But then it allows you to clip them for social media purposes. So when I was researching my podcast and what kind of hosting platform, I came across Riverside and I was like, holy crap, this is like going to help me save so much time. And this is not by any means like sponsored or added or, anything. I'm not getting anything out of talking about Riverside, but I do think that it's a really cool platform that allows you to help the process of repurposing your podcast platform. So it will create what's called magic clips, and it'll then take the best pieces of my podcast for me and create them into like the size of like a reel and a TikTok. And so then I don't have to go in and like, I kind of can take what they built for me. It's AI generated, and then I can go in and play around with it. But rather than me going in and creating those pieces together, it spits out a bunch for me. And then I can go in and edit from there, which is time consuming, is so helpful because that would take me so much time to do. So that's the reason I went with Riverside. And then it helped align with like the process I wanted to do for repurposing the content that I build. Starting from the podcast is like my main top of the pyramid for me. That's going to be my main source of content that I want to build because I can talk about so many different things. And then take those clips and post them to different social media platforms, different avenues of marketing. So YouTube, I can post then this whole podcast clip here. So I can go in and create this visual piece and put it on uploads to Spotify as a video, but also I can take it and clip it to how I want to for YouTube, edit it a little bit, maybe don't include like the intro and do all those things, kind of cut right to the chase and put in the piece that someone's going there on YouTube to learn. Because I think the way that someone utilizes a podcast versus they utilize YouTube, you need to be very mindful of that. And I haven't done that yet. So now I'm going to create and take these clips and create one specifically for YouTube where maybe I cut out the jibber jabber and talk strictly about the content piece of like the actual episode, so that the person that's coming to YouTube, their goal is to get to click on an episode or click on a video and learn exactly what they're trying to learn. They don't necessarily want the fluff when it comes to like an educational piece. But I do also on YouTube want to start doing like day in the life of a mom who's juggling all the things for like relatability. And that's different then, right? We would want to include the fluff and the feel good, relatable moments. But for an educational piece and maybe like educational content that I'm talking about on a podcast, I would then clip and create for the intention of someone who's going on YouTube. So then, of course, YouTube Shorts is something that's happening. I dove into that very much, but same kind of concept as someone who's going through like a reel, how you go on Facebook and they have the reels. You can get sucked into that. So again, just taking those kind of like short form of the podcast and grabbing those clips and putting them on YouTube Shorts and utilizing that because, again, for exposure, and you're just kind of taking it and repurposing it. So podcast, YouTube for a couple different reasons, which I'll dive into. like I kind of did a little bit with the, day in the life, going a little bit more into other content there. But podcast, YouTube, Instagram. So again, utilizing those smaller clips that I grab from the magic clips that Riverside creates for me, grabbing like 2 to 3 clips per episode and being able to use those, like, of course, for like, hey, this is this week's episode, maybe like the main piece, but then there's like maybe other pieces that I can grab that would be useful in a couple weeks if I don't have anything to post. I can post those there so that I'm continuously and consistently putting out content. So Instagram, I'm going to dive into my strategy there in a bit, but then same thing with TikTok, utilizing those pieces on TikTok again to kind of gain exposure for myself and put out that educational relatability clip so that someone can come, and the purpose of, repurposing it is that driving them back to my podcast so they can listen to the full episode and hopefully join me on a weekly basis and get to know me, which is the purpose of the podcast. So using it in various ways, not just doing, the audio podcast and releasing that on a weekly basis and just like every once in a while being like, hey, I have a podcast. I want to be able to utilize the other avenues that I'm going to be using to drive people back to the long form content of my podcast. So that's the podcast piece. The other platforms that I want to utilize are, like I mentioned, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and that is pretty much it that I'm going to stick with at this moment. I've never been a Twitter person. I had like a couple random tweets I would do like way back when it was super popular. Now, obviously being X and Threads, like it just doesn't feel aligned to me. And maybe when I have more capacity, like maybe I'll be able to take some of like the key moments that I grabbed from like my, when you have a podcast, you get like notes. And maybe I'll take some of those notes, and if I have some like cool things that I said, maybe I'll like put them on Threads or something. But I feel like it's more of like a conversation platform for someone that's like super witty and like wants to like genuinely start a thread conversation. And like I do want to do that, but right now that's just like not feeling aligned with capacity for me, but also just where I want to go with my marketing efforts, if that makes sense. I do see value in it, but for me, again, it's just like it's not jiving with the direction that I want to go at this moment in time. But yeah, I just really want to focus on my podcast feeling like a platform, YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. TikTok, obviously, it's February already, which is crazy. We had the ban earlier in January, but it's back. And I personally don't feel like it's really going to go anywhere. But right now it's here. And so I'm going to utilize the platform. And if it ends up going away, that's why I'm using other platforms, because Instagram could go at any moment, YouTube, all these things, Facebook could go, and all, like, you need to make sure that you're, again, repurposing your content so that if ever you need to pivot, you can. And I did forget to mention Facebook. Facebook for me actually has been not a struggle, like, because it's not, it's actually where I've posted the most because of my network and like connections with people that I have been posting there, but it doesn't feel like a marketing strategy. I was just kind of like, hey, I'm putting myself out there here, connections, please like connect me with the people that you might know. But it is a strategy. It is a part of my marketing plan. So I will be utilizing it as well. But I feel like it's not going to be like pre-planned for me content. It's going to be more content that I'm like already the people that I have on Facebook, I know, and I can speak to them in a different way than the people on Instagram that I'm going to like try to grow a following on. So for me, it's really easy for me to like whip out a post and put it out there and then like put it on my business Facebook page, but then also make a shared post on my personal page to like my connections. Like it's not hard for me to do that. So I will, Instagram has the share to Facebook page. I will just do that and let those live there to like have a consistent flow of content. But I also will take time every like maybe week or so, once a month, who knows, on that cadence for Facebook. But like just share like big wins that I might have, share like a connection or a client that I had that maybe I have a lot of mutual friends, be like, hey, check out this person's website that I did. Like, I'm super excited that we were able to work together. it's just a different messaging for me, and it doesn't feel like it has to be pre-planned. I feel like that for me already has been successful when I'm just more so in the moment and feel aligned with posting there and it just being like a good feel post. I have gotten clients from Facebook and a lot of them actually. And so just continuing how I have been utilizing it just feels good and right to me. So I'm definitely going to continue doing that. It's just like not a massive like part of how I'm creating my content plan for 2025. So sticking with social media, LinkedIn is something that I've never felt good about. Not good about. That sounds bad, but I just have never felt, it's just a space of very almost like too professional for me. I am not someone that's very like even in the workplace, I never am someone that's like super polished and proper almost. And so LinkedIn just never felt like a space that I felt right, like consistently posting on, which I need to start and maybe we'll get into later when I have more on my plate that can have space to juggle those things. But right now it's not something, again, that I'm going to be posting consistently on for capacity wise and like alignment. But every once in a while, I'll throw a post out there or, interact with some people that if some of my clients, like I have a client who strictly wants to make social media content for LinkedIn. So I'll go and interact with that, share, and do that. But it's not going to be something that is a part of like my core. It's more secondary. So it's not really a part of my core primary content plan for 2025. So sure, there's more social media platforms out there, but just kind of sticking to those ones that are coming to mind right now and that are a part of my plan, if that's primary or secondary. So of course, my podcast, let's kind of dive into YouTube. So YouTube, like I mentioned, I love YouTube. I have been watching vlogs and people for the last however many years of that being out there. And so for me, like that just feels right in terms of developing content. And I'm going to tell you why it makes sense for my business and who I'm marketing to. So I am specifically marketing to moms, most likely millennial moms, people my age or a little bit older. And those people, of course, have grew up in the era that I did. And so that comfort, that relatability that they probably feel in terms of content jives with what I feel and what I feel aligned with. If you're someone that's marketing to a completely different generation, a different demographic than yourself and what you feel aligned with, then you might not be able to, you shouldn't go 100% with what feels good for you. You also need to think about like your audience. Luckily, the audience is me, my type of person, and the kind of content that I feel good about. So I'm just lucky in that sense. I've felt always really comfortable marketing to those people and having conversations. And so creating a YouTube channel where I have my visual podcast, I put out more long form content about like the onboarding process behind the scenes of my business because people want to see that and like moms want to know the process and like kind of what they're putting investment into. And so I'm going to start creating some like long form behind the scenes of my onboarding process, really thinking through that vlog style so that they can like feel comfortable while they're watching it, but also learn what they're investing their money into and seeing behind the scenes of like a project that I'm working on. And again, repurposing, I'll take those clips of a long video that might be 20 plus minutes, take little clips of it from that video and put it on like my Instagram and TikTok to be like, hey, I had a little vlog, right? Really thinking through if I'm going to do that, how can I utilize all of the different platforms that I'm going to be posting on to get the most bang for my buck. I also will do, day in the life. So people can feel like they get to know me. Developing that personal brand is really important. And showcasing, again, that relatability. So those are the kind of videos that I'm going to have on my YouTube and then my Instagram and TikTok. My Instagram and TikTok will be a place where I repurpose that long form content, but I also want to be able to utilize the platforms for the use or reason that they are short form. If I want to do a day in the life and not have it be very blog style because I'm going to buy like a content camera, like a vlogging camera and do that long form content. But also if I want to just do it on my phone really quick and have like a cute, day in the life or like talk to the camera quick, like put my phone down, have a little quick conversation with my followers and my community, use those platforms to do that. And those are a little bit easier, right? Oh my gosh, why does this keep happening? If you're watching on YouTube, every single time I like move my hand, a weird like thumbs up bubble comes up. I don't know why it's doing that. I need to figure that out. But yeah, so just making sure that I am utilizing the avenues that I've chosen for my marketing strategy correctly, and feel good about, and also using them to repurpose and drive people to my main source, which is my podcast, to like learn more about me, but also like my website and my services, etc. Because then on my podcast, my show notes have my website where you can like learn how to work with me, right? So those are like the social media pieces that I'm really going to focus on. Again, to recap, podcast being the most energy in terms of like long form content, along with YouTube. I'll put that up there. But pyramid, it would be podcast at the top, and then YouTube, and having Instagram and TikTok be used to repurpose that long form content, but also just like put some, good short form content on those, and doing it on a very recurring basis. I'm thinking like 3 to 5 posts on Instagram a week, which is pretty heavy lift, but I really want to grow my following. And I think that if I repurpose podcast and YouTube clips, and then also do like mini day in the lives, portfolio work, showing, all of my content from my clients, which is always really great and easy to do. And then also some like little behind the scene type of things, and like talking to camera quick, set your phone down and have a little chit chat. Those are really easy to make. And then almost like thought leadership style for Instagram, having some B-roll and me putting out there like a concept and a thought that provokes someone to then like learn more about me and my intentions and my services. 3 to 5, I'm thinking, and I put together my plan, and actually with like, the podcast and like doing like the heavy lifting of like the podcast and the YouTube, it's really easy to do 3 to 5. It's actually easier for me once I start developing the content to do probably 5 a week. And I'm thinking the Monday would be, here's my podcast episode, here's a little clip from it, go listen to the full episode. Tuesday being like a portfolio piece of a client that I worked with. So showing that, so people get intrigued by the work that I do in terms of like service based. And then having like a behind the scenes or vlog style where I'm either repurposing that from YouTube or having like a cute little behind the scenes, day in the life, which is more clips from like my phone rather than like a full YouTube video, either or. And then from there having like a either another portfolio piece or something like personal brand, where I share maybe like a photo dump of all of me and my kids, right? And like being a mom, and like showing some behind the scenes work so people can like, you're utilizing the reels, but also the photo piece of Instagram. And then like my thought leadership, if that's me putting the phone down and like having a talk to camera moment, or if it's me, with some B-roll and having a thought provoking message that's gonna like align with my audience. I mean, right there, those are something that we can do on a weekly basis, have those categories, just kind of what I did, and make sure that I'm developing content that meets each category. You don't have to think too hard about it, just being able to develop something that feels easy to do. So, and then I would say TikTok. I have zero idea about TikTok. I feel like it's just rogue content in terms of like, not that you don't have to have a plan or strategy, like definitely do. And maybe I'm so off with this because I don't know really much about TikTok besides that I love it and I scroll through it. But I think it's more just trying to get to know someone via your personal brand, or be really educational. And really educational doesn't feel right to me. So for me, it's more so showing shortened clips of my day. So I'm going to try with TikTok. We'll see how it goes. But I want to put myself out there a little bit more. But I think for that, I'm going to try more like trial things, right? Like just throw it out there, see how it does. And then just kind of testing content, use it as like a testing platform. That feels good. It doesn't feel overwhelming. So yeah, those are the social media pieces that I'm going to work through. Again, really focusing on like repurposing my content, work smarter, not harder. And then beyond though, social media, utilizing your network of people. So for me, I have a community. Of course, everyone has a community of people and services that they can utilize. But for me, having web and brand design, there are people here that can benefit from that. A lot of my clients are local. And so continuing the relationships of people I have worked with, I bought business cards and then bought what they're called like rack cards, but they're basically just like a little brochure with like a little clip at the bottom where you can like take the piece off and either put like a little coupon on the bottom, which I did. I did like 10% off my services for my local community, and went and put those at like some different places, coffee shops, businesses, places that I know my ideal client is going to go to. But like I mentioned in the first episode, I market to mom-owned businesses, women-owned businesses, placed those at some hair salons. You know, every female goes and gets their hair done. So utilized that space, coffee shops, joined my local Chamber of Commerce. And with that membership, that's a yearly fee. I got a radio spot aired in February 1st. So that's exciting. I already got a message this morning saying, hey, I heard your ad on the radio, like really cool. So putting myself out there on our local radio, it was like a 15-second just blurb about me and my business and how I can help the community shine right through branding and web design services. So did that. There's a lot of like networking opportunities, just getting, again, really utilizing the network that you have locally or that you've already built. Don't stop doing that, continuing to do that, because again, that's kind of where my business has come from. So gonna find more ways to get involved in the community, if that's speaking at a women's leadership type of luncheon or something with the chamber, or just getting in front of as many people as I can organically. I'm thinking about doing some like conferences where I go and have like a table and be able to speak with people. We have women leadership conferences. I live like near the Green Bay, Wisconsin area, and so they do a lot there. So trying to figure out how maybe I can get involved beyond just my small little community, but kind of going a little bit further than that. So yeah, that is my marketing plan. And that is it's very high level. I have a lot of other items in here and a lot of other ideas in terms of like going beyond just web and brand design. I have some ideas for my business and the growth that I want to do, but I need to start. I'm very much someone who gets really excited about the potential of the future. And I want to make sure that I focus on what I can control in the moment and balance what I can and really give 100% to this time in my life. And then once I'm able to feel really good about where I'm at in social media and getting clients through that, along with like expanding my local network, then I can move on to the next stage of my business. That's been something I wouldn't say struggling with, but reminding myself that, hey, it comes with time. It's really important to take baby steps and perfect where you're at now and focus later on what's to come. But keeping it in my marketing plan because I don't want to forget it or lose focus on my next steps, because keeping a goal list of where you want to go is really important. But those are just some like social media strategies for me and like my intent that I want to go, along with some like local areas and things that I want to do. So I'm super excited. And I'm gonna, I think, kind of do like a little recap each week on like where I'm at and how I'm feeling, because I think that that's something, I don't have my services are not social media based. They are online presence in terms of branding and web design for my clients. But when I have conversations with my clients, we inevitably always talk about how do we then use our website to get out there on social media and drive traffic back to your website, which is like your digital storefront. So that is one thing that I didn't mention, but to me, it's obvious. So always, always, always drive people back to a place that you need them to go. If that is a website because you are a digital service-based business, Or if it's like a physical location, make sure that you are driving wherever you're doing in your social media process, that you are driving the person, your audience member, potential client, potential customer back to that main place of call to action. So for me, it's always going to be my website, learn more about my services, let's learn how we can work together, etc. That'll always be ingrained in every single piece of content that I produce. And so, yeah, I am going to touch base each week and tell you where I'm at. And one thing I forgot to do was we're learning. This podcast is all about learning. I'm loving it, but I forgot to tell you what I was drinking today because I was talking that whole time and didn't even take a sip. I am drinking tea. This is like an immune booster. There's so much sickness going around. I have been sick since Thanksgiving until like a few weeks ago. January, we didn't get too sick. And so I've just been like drinking immune boosting tea like every day and night because I am so terrified of feeling like garbage again. And with that, I am so excited that you're here. I loved our chit chat. I can't wait to share next week with you where I'm at with my content journey and can't wait to chit chat next week. Bye.